Hello, everybody. I'm Jennifer Rubinstein with the Louisville Independent Business Alliance. I am going to turn it over to Derek actually now with American Independent Business Alliance. I'm going to work on getting another one of our panelists on the call, and then we'll get going.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer. Great afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's had a good weekend under the circumstances. We are here today to serve our Independent Business Alliance leaders on different steps that we can all take to support each other and to support our independent business members during this time as we are living through the COVID crisis. And so Jennifer Rubinstein and I have been working on planning what we envision a series of discussions to talk about technical things such as, how to serve your members, different topics such as memberships, leadership, and the whole nine. We would also be scheduling a call in the next couple of weeks. There's currently not a date set, but we will also be doing a call where we'll be talking about the broader local economy movement and how we position ourselves as local economy leaders in the post-pandemic stage. And so, as you all know, we've been advocating very heavily for different things that are coming out of the stimulus package to benefit our local economies. And so there may be a few of you all that may not know Amoeba's history or may be new to it. And so I just wanted to mention a couple things about who we are. And so Amoeba was founded in 2001 to build a movement that supports the development of locally owned and independent businesses. So we've been around for about 19 years, and through that time, we've helped form or grow more than 60 IBAs that are geographically dispersed around the country. So I think we are now supporting about 20,000 local independent businesses as members that are united in support of protecting local economies. This is probably throughout 24 states. And so historically, we have promoted the terms buy local and local first, and we've played a key role in helping those concepts and language become more prevalent across the country. And we've demonstrated and publicized the importance of local businesses to our national economy. And so we feel that now is very important to really connect with all of our IBA leaders to find out what each other are doing, also to figure out best practices and how to advocate with your local and state governments, but also really just to be a community and a support group that in the future we'll start talking about just what the local economy movement looks like in general once businesses begin to start opening. So we know that the current stimulus package has not really served our businesses very well. So we've been very busy working for you all on that front. So we've established partnerships that allows us greater capacity to advocate on a federal level. And so I would say that's really kind of where we've had all hands on deck over the past few weeks. And so as we move throughout the agenda, I may have to jump off, but I wanted to let the group know that I myself and Jennifer and a couple of others will be in touch with you all about how to continue these conversations. So thank you all, and I'm glad you all were able to join today. Jennifer, I'll turn it back over.
Thank you, Derek. I appreciate it. So while we can't see everyone on the call, I do want to still sort of do introductions in some shape or fashion. So what I would like for everyone who's participating in the call to do is to go to the chat box. This is actually part of our housekeeping too. There are a couple of places where we can communicate with each other. There is the chat, and you can type in the chat box and that goes to everybody, or you can select that you only want to go to a certain panelist. So I would love for everybody to go into the chat box and go ahead and type your name and what organization you're with so that we can all get a sense of who our compadres are on the call today. And then we'll also obviously be hearing from each of our panelists as we go along. They'll be introducing themselves and their organizations too. There is also a Q&A feature. So if you want to go into the Q&A, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you can ask questions there. That is helpful for us in that we can kind of tell what questions we've answered and all that sort of thing. So if you have questions, it might be beneficial to ask them there rather than in the chat. And also you have the ability to ask questions anonymously if you want to. If for some reason you want to keep it on the down low. So you're welcome to do that. I am at the end of this call. We are recording this call, so we'll be sending out a recording to everyone who's attended. It's also obviously going to be on our Facebook page as well. I think some of you heard about it through our Facebook group of Buy Local / Local First Business Association leaders. So it will be housed there, and then I'll also be sending around a document that includes, everybody's name, the names, phone numbers, and email addresses of all the panelists here. So hopefully you'll be getting some great inspiration, maybe some ways to tweak things that you're already doing. Maybe you have ideas to share with us, and we would love to hear those. We'll be opening up for just general discussion at the end of the call here with about 10 or 15 minutes left. And at that point as well, I want to start hearing from folks about what you feel like our next step should be as far as, what we can offer you as alliances of, promoting this buy local message and supporting independent businesses. What would be most useful to you in the coming weeks? So with that, let's see, I think I have covered everything I was supposed to here. Yeah, so let's get started. First up, we have Mary Alice Scott. She is with the Portland Buy Local organization. And Mary Alice, if you want to say a couple words, and she's going to focus on just kind of reaching your members about available resources, which I know has been a big thing for all of us for the past 6 weeks. Mary Alice.
Hi, yeah, it's nice to see all of you. I just was scrolling through all of the folks who are joining us, and it's nice to see kind of the wide variety in terms of representation all across the country and organizations too. It's great to see lots of different folks. I do have to say I saw someone from Franklin and Marshall College, which I'm an alumna of, which is many states away. So it's great to see that Amoeba has made that connection. I'm Mary Alice Scott. I'm the executive director with Portland Buy Local in Portland, Maine, the original Portland. Not that there's a chip on our shoulder about that at all. And yeah, as Jen said, I'm going to talk about what I think many of you have probably been doing already, which is connecting your member organizations to the resources that are out there. We all, I think, within the first 2 weeks of this pandemic realized that the amount of information that was coming toward local businesses was like a fire hydrant. And we talked about a lot of the IBAs, our jobs have kind of been to make that information digestible. And so I am just going to talk about a couple of different tips that we have found to be helpful. One of them is that we have a Buy Local Facebook group that has become very, very active during the pandemic. We decided early on to open it up so that it was not just for Portland Buy Local members, but for anyone who is a member of the local business community. And it's been a great way to share the resources quickly and with a lot of engagement. So we've been using that as a tool. The other thing that I'm sure you all have been doing already is to digest the information and put them on your websites. And so I just was going to do a quick share to kind of show you. I think some of the organizations who are on this call are actually probably doing an even better job of this than we are. We are an organization of one staff, which is me, and many of you have lots of different staff, but some of you also have small organizations, and so all of this will kind of be dependent on your capacity organizationally. But this was just kind of a quick thing that we have done is to just make it really digestible to say, here's the latest news from the state. We are really lucky to have a state senator who's doing her own daily updates. And so we're trying to connect all of our community to her daily updates. and then just dividing them into different categories to make it really, really easily digestible. I think that that has been kind of the key role for IBAs, is to make it so that business owners are not feeling overwhelmed with the amount of information that is out there. So that's kind of what we have been trying to do. I also can't help myself, and so we send out emails. Usually it's once or twice a week to our members, and I have been doing a lot of editorializing within our emails to try and explain the impact that all of the different programs will have on them. Because it's one thing to have a list with a link, but it's another thing entirely to kind of understand the PPP, for example. When it came out, we tried to make it really clear, you know, this has some good, this has some bad implications, and here's what that means for your businesses. So I think that those are kind of the starts that we've had. And I wanted to also just give a shout out to Amoeba, because I think that for us as an organization, it's been really critical to have all of these other smiling faces as allies and as supporters for collecting the resources. Because that's the other thing, is that many of you are probably in a similar position that I am in, where you're a staff of one or perhaps a staff of 2 or 3, and just collecting the information has been a challenge. And so I've been leaning on my partners and other organizations across the country through Amoeba. And the other suggestion that I would encourage folks to do, if you have not already, which probably you have, is to connect with any organization that is like-minded in your area. So as soon as lockdown started to happen, I reached out to the tourism organizations, I reached out to our local downtown, the local chambers, the city government, and we all are meeting weekly now. And I think, again, one of the things that Amoeba has done is to set the stage so that every one of those organizations really understands why local businesses need support and need targeted support during this time. It's been great to see how many people are quickly responding to the call and the need for local businesses. And so if you are an organization of one, that is my strong recommendation, is to digest things, to lean on Amoeba for those connections, and to lean on the connections between other folks in your community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary Alice. Yes, and I do want to emphasize, I know that the panelists on this call, we're all lucky that we do have paid staff for our organizations. I realize not every organization on this call has that. So obviously there are varying levels of execution available, but at least gives you lots of ideas. And if you have volunteers, et cetera, that can be helpful. And then also we're here to make that easier for you so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And you can, you know, we pick each other's brains all the time. And I'm so very glad to be able to email folks and just, oh, look, this is the perfect way to phrase it. I'm just going to take that right there. So thank you so much. I also want to add, a lot of the organizations have been having the town halls that Mary Alice mentioned. And if you look within your membership, usually there are experts there. You have accountants, you have lawyers, you have you know, city folks that you're connected to. So it's been, for us, relatively straightforward to coordinate these calls, because we know we have those resources at our fingertips. We just need to bring them all together so that then our membership as a whole can benefit from that as well. So, and we'll have some more questions and comments here at the end, but I'm going to keep us moving. Next up, we have Dana Ennis with Stay Local New Orleans, just to talk a little bit about membership fees during the pandemic, because I don't know about you, but when it first started hitting, I was like, oh my gosh, and are we going to be able to, should we ask our members? Are we going to ask our members? And how are we going to handle this? So Dana, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yeah, hey everyone. I would definitely second what everyone has said about how important, especially now, it is to have a community beyond New Orleans, especially since we're all being affected similarly, and that's really, really rare across the country. So thank you, Amoeba, for being there and saving us a lot of time and effort in not reinventing a lot of the wheels and communication that is going out, and making sure also that we're consistent with what other people are communicating. I think that's important too, so that the voice is heard and we're cutting through some of the the confusion. I am Dana Ennis. Was on the founding board of Stay Local, which was has been around since 2003, so not long after Amoeba was founded. And I think it's important to understand when we talk about membership where we're coming from in New Orleans. I was a staff of one at that time in 2006 when I came on board to work as the Stay Local program coordinator at that time. But Stay Local is an initiative of the Urban Conservancy, of which I am now the executive director, and it is the Urban Conservancy is a 501c3. So this is something else, we understand as we get to know each other, is how differently we configure ourselves as an initiative of a nonprofit, 501c3. It was really important to us coming out of a Katrina, which had decimated the city. It was really important to us to have no threshold. So we took the Utah model, the Local First in Utah's model of no membership. Our idea was, we're a 501c3. We will find funding in other ways. We want absolutely no barriers. The numbers are important. We want to create this aggregate, this voice of the small business community. So no membership fee is how we started. And we stuck with that for quite some time. And over time, and we built up this large body of businesses within our community. A couple thousand businesses is what we have now that are affiliated with Stay Local. But in about 6 or 7 years ago, we moved Stay Local into its own tax category as a 501c6, which seemed more appropriate, which is a member-serving organization, still affiliated closely with the Urban Conservancy. All that to say is our paying membership numbers are relatively low within that larger universe that we touch and communicate with regularly, and who identify themselves as affiliates of Stay Local. And I think that's really important. The membership dollars represent about 15% of the Stay Local budget. And so it isn't, if we collect no membership, it's a squeeze, but it's not going to do us in. But at the same time, right now, at this time, from the membership, from our member businesses perspective, as has already been mentioned, we're all about how do we minimize the overwhelmedness, if that's a word. And one of those is to reach out before they reach out to us asking for it, saying, hey, that because our membership is on a rolling basis, saying we're suspending, we're not going to ask for anything from you until July 1st, so, and if you have any questions regarding that or need an extension beyond that, it's easy enough to do, to push that date ahead, and just take one less invoice off of their plate that they need to be concerned about paying. I think also just in recognizing that this is a city, our businesses are going to have been consistently hit by, if it's not a natural disaster, it's major road construction to deal with our where we are as a coastal city and rising sea levels and all of that, or it's a cyber attack last December, or it's a pandemic. So also recognizing that maybe, this idea of a low barrier is something that we're just going to be comfortable with and not move away from very quickly, because we want those 2,000 businesses, the community of 7,000 local loving community members to be part of our communication system, particularly at times like this when we want to get word out to them. And I think it's finally, and just in closing, I want to say it's important to recognize too that at times like this, we're really, the work that all of us are doing is really appreciated. What Mary Alice was saying about kind of just streamlining and making things easier to digest, doing everything we can just to relieve some of that stress that our business members are feeling is really appreciated. And so we're actually seeing some new membership coming at this time saying thank you, I really value what you're doing, including a $500 sustaining member level. So business that just signed on a week ago. So I think it's really important to also recognize that there are, that at times like this, our work is very, very visible and very appreciated and very much needed. So.
Thank you, Dana. Yes, I agree. And I'll just add to that as well. We debated what to do as far as membership fees, and we decided that we would still send out our notices, but we would send it with a note not to stress, that everyone will be, extended. Everyone's grace period is extended at least until July 1st. But we did still let them know if they wanted to. And we've been surprised that we have gotten a steady stream of memberships coming in, and no one that said, no, I just don't want to do it anymore. And honestly, at this point, I feel like this is our highest level of member satisfaction in a long time. People just really need a lifeline, and they're looking to the independent business, to our organization here in Louisville, just because we are unique in that we are, specifically for their business. We're not an association of the super large manufacturing, publicly traded companies, things like that. Our members, many of them are the people who do the payroll and clean the toilets. They're doing everything for the business. So it's nice to have that group of people that they can relate to, and it's very much worth it to them. And we're glad that we can keep them in here regardless of if they can pay right now or they'll pay later. And we have let other people in that cannot pay right now as well. So
Hey,
thank
Jennifer.
you. Yes.
Just kidding, if I can add to that for a second.
Sure.
I know that there were a couple of attendees on the call today that mentioned that they weren't current in their membership with Amoeba. And so I just want to let everybody know that I'm not really worried about that right now. And so I would much rather have you all's involvement and kind of what we're doing to help each other throughout the movement and also in the future. So I would second everybody else. Don't expect to hear from me about memberships for the next little while, but I will be checking up on you just to kind of check your status and to see how you're doing and how we can help support. So thanks.
Great. Thank you, Derek. Yes, that makes a lot of sense to mention that as well. Perfect. Well, next up we have Theo, correct? Yes, we do. Sorry, and I'll add a couple minutes onto yours, Theo, because I know we've gone into some of your time here.
That's okay.
But Theo is kind of our resident expert lately about using directories. All of us have different forms of directories, or many of us have different forms of directories on their website. And Theo has taken a new approach with visualizing that, so we thought it would be neat to see what they've done there in Cambridge. So take it away, Theo.
Okay, thank you. So I have a few different directory options to show you. We're experimenting with a number of directories, and there have also been some community-led initiatives in Cambridge that I wanted to share. So the first one is, and let me share my screen with you. So here we go. So the first one is one of our board members works at Open Datasoft. It's a software company that is helping cities provide data and visualizations on COVID-related work, including real-time changes on business hours, closed ATMs, open pharmacies, and more over the last 3 months or so. They started in Europe, and now they're operating also in the US and Canada. So this includes information on local businesses, and this is a link that showcases a bunch of their examples with cities. You'll see a lot of them are in Europe, France, and elsewhere. And it highlights different local business related activities. So the team is offering 6 months of free service. I've already emailed it to a bunch of you. We took advantage of this. So it's a really cool offering. What we did was we started by compiling a spreadsheet of open local businesses in Cambridge. So this is a spreadsheet. We're now expanding into Boston. So that's why there's a second tab. But basically, we've created a big spreadsheet. It has in total 459 businesses. They're all local and independent, and we've categorized them based on type of business, but we've also included categories on delivery, takeout, online sales, and fundraising. And fundraising includes whether or not they have gift cards and also an actual sort of GoFundMe type fundraising campaign. You can separate it out, but it just is easier to keep it together. We have a retail location status, open, closed, or remotely open. Some people objected to the closed title because they were open virtually, so we rebranded. The ones that are closed really were open and have become closed. So we're really only trying to include open businesses in this because it's meant to be an action-oriented system. We list their address. You need to include the address because ultimately it's geocoded, and that's how it appears on the map. So it's important to have clearly communicated addresses, and then we also include phone numbers, website, and then social media and email outreach information so folks can reach out. So what you do is you put together the spreadsheet just like this. We have a bunch of volunteers helping us, and it's just a lot of data cleaning. So it probably took about 20 hours together, but with volunteers, it can go pretty quickly. And then what you do is, this is the final output. So we've embedded, it's an external facing page. We've embedded it in our website, but you can, if for whatever reason you don't have a website or it's not easy to embed, you can also have it as a separate web page. And so what it is if you scroll down, you'll see these are summary statistics, and then this is the map. So it's a really cool visualization of open local businesses, and you can search the map in a number of ways. You can search based on whether or not they do delivery, whether or not they do takeout. You can also combine features, so you can say yes takeout, yes online sales, yes delivery. So anyway, you can look based on various features. You'll see that based on what you modifies the output, and then you can see it here as well. So it's a little bit easier to use the search features. We also have, you can search by type of business, and you can search based on retail status, location, retail location status. So this is the feature. It's a really cool interactive piece. And yeah, as you can see, we just embedded it right in the homepage of our website. It's gotten a lot of traffic. So it's something that I definitely recommend you check out. I did want to highlight also, there are other directories. So the SBN, this is Network of Massachusetts, they had built a directory that was based on different categories. So they looked at restaurants and retail, farm and fish, breweries, distilleries, wineries, and then grocery delivery services. We're actually partnering with them. So what we've done is we've embedded that in this Boston tab. So we're now expanding beyond Cambridge. We're going to create a send visualization just beneath this one here. It'll be a Boston area one. So it'll include more than just Cambridge. And we're working on the data cleaning now. So you can see it's mostly there, but there are a few missing pieces. We still have to add some other columns here. So I wanted to highlight this. You can break it out this way, or you can visualize it. And the visualization is a really cool feature, and we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on it. Additionally, this is from the city of Cambridge. They have, this is a smart sheet, so it's not just a simple Google spreadsheet. It is also view only, but it's basically the same as a Google spreadsheet. So you don't need a smart sheet. And this was the initial impetus for the work that we've done. We saw this and we thought it would be nice to visualize. So you're able to view it. Again, it's overlapping. What you'll notice is the cities is not just local and independent. So they have larger chain businesses. And that's why we started with this information and the Cambridge businesses that were listed here to build our first Cambridge one. So where you can, pre-existing data sets. So I did want to highlight that. Additionally, there's one for nonprofits. Some of you, like us, might have nonprofit members. If you include nonprofits, you might want to list out their services. So it's a little bit different than but many nonprofits function as businesses, so they might be in your list as well. I just wanted to highlight, so this is Membership Works. This is the tool where if you're actually looking at our member directory, so this is under normal circumstances, you'll see this is the directory that we use. This is all of our members. So here in this visualization, we're looking at all open local businesses in Cambridge beyond our membership. For the directory, it's members only. And so this is the outward public facing one. Search by category, you can search by neighborhood, and you can search by location. Okay, so I've got about 30 seconds left. This is the backward facing version. A lot of features, definitely worth checking out, including the calendar. 10 seconds for each of these. This is a great way to visualize gift cards. and they're looking to expand so you can connect with them. This is another way of visualizing the information. And this is the last resource. It's a volunteer clearinghouse. It's not quite visualizing the needs that businesses have in their volunteer services. So a little bit different, but it's another kind of directory for small business needs. And that's it.
Thank you, Theo. I appreciate it. And yeah, we'll definitely have a list of those websites, et cetera, that we can include in the follow-up as well, so that people can check them out on their own too, because I believe all of those are available to IBAs, all IBAs, correct? It's not just
just
volunteer and the et cetera,
right.
are not just for just for Cambridge. So yeah, great. Well, next up, so we're shifting gears. Do you like, we're just getting like the high level of so many topics. All of these topics could be like a whole call on their own, but wanted to kind of just give the broad scope here. So next up we have Colin with Dane by Local, talking about some creative ways to work with area institutions, government entities, etc. So Colin, who has the grant that we're all jealous of. Go Colin.
Yeah, I'm Colin with Dane by Local here in Madison, Wisconsin. Dane County is where we're located, since that's how our name comes about, that we're not just in the city, but the entire county. So in fact, Dane County was the first government entity to join not only Dane by Local, but as far as we can tell, any of the amoeba members nationwide way back when, about 15, 16 years ago. So they're very proud of that fact, that they are a long-term member, but one of the original government entities to join any by local group around the country. And they've been very supportive of that. The executive, county executive, Joe Parisi, has been the same position as county executive in all 15 years that he has been a member of the organization. I think that definitely helps. And that is the reason that we got this large grant through the county that you may have heard about. It's $800,000 that Dane by Local is administering and giving out to local businesses in the area. And it's because of that relationship. It was a very quick process that took place. It happened very quickly, in a matter of about 24 hours from the first phone call to when they said, yes, we're doing this and you guys can run it for us. So that really paid off with those that relationship being developed there. We then took that to some of the other cities, including the city of Madison, and have been developing each of the relationships there. So currently we have 4 cities within the county that are also members of Dane by Local. And what I've been doing, the process that I've been doing, is just one by one, picking off these various cities and working down the list as far as getting them engaged. So what I do is we have a couple of different press conferences that we do through the year. So I always make sure that I invite the county executive to be one of the speakers at those press conferences. Most of the time he's able to attend. I also invite one of the cities that is not a member to speak. And in fact, I'll try to set up the press conference in their city at one of our members' locations, and then invite that mayor to speak. That opens an opportunity for me to have dialogue with them before the press conference, during, and after, and hopefully develop more membership opportunities for them. We just had one of our cities join because of that strategy. So I found that to be very successful. We continue to use that. Also, as a side point, I use that same strategy in developing at the state and federal level. So our House of Representatives in Washington and our senator, I make sure to invite them to these same press conferences. And sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it conflicts. They got to be in Washington, whatever the case might be. But that definitely helps as well. In fact, our House of Representatives, his name is Mark Pocan, owns a local business here in Madison, and his partner is the one who runs it. And so they are a member of Dane by Local. So we get a couple of different angles with him as well. So we found that to be very helpful. We also do that with some of the institutions in town, the university. We've tried to get the university as a whole, University of Wisconsin, to join. We've not been successful in doing that. We have had meetings with the appropriate people people, but just never has happened. But some of the separate departments have joined as members of Dayton Buy Local. So we find that to be very successful in working with them and being very appropriate for what projects they're working at the university level. And then we try to develop that with the students. We did, up until 6 weeks ago, have a new program that we were trying to develop with students to get them into the buy local mentality. So get them when they're young, get them headed in the right direction. We'll have to put that on the shelf for a little while, but we'll come back to that project at some point and trying to develop some of the students that are at the university to support localism as opposed to just buying from Amazon and doing it that way. So essentially that's what we've done here. That's been pretty successful for us.
Thank you, Colin. You've got a lot of areas of outreach there, most definitely, and it's great. I have to say that during this time, I've never relied on my networks more than, and I'm so glad that we built them up before, and that some of those have continued to deepen. You know, our main chamber of commerce, who we kind of work alongside of, but we've just never really felt like we just have all that much in common, but we have really worked together a lot during this time. So I encourage everybody to reach out to folks. Even, you know, it can be a time to make new relationships as well as to deepen the ones that you already have. So very glad to have those, definitely. Well, let's see, and continue. You know, if you have questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in the Q&A or in the chat, and we're going to kind of round them all up here at the end. Next up, I wanted to hear from Rebecca and Austin about kind of the social media campaigns, kind of reminding the public about why buying local is important and how we can support our members by, you know, kind of galvanizing our local citizens.
Thanks, Jennifer. But first I want to say something about Amoeba. I want to echo what everyone here has said. I cannot begin to express the value of this group and of us relying on each other. I've learned so much from everybody, just from ideas, shared experiences, new technology, whatever it might be. It's just such a great place to say, what did you do and how did that work for you? And what a great idea. And grow from there so that we're all not reinventing the wheel, and all of us are from small organizations. There are 3 of us at AIBA, but it's still hard to be, you know, just more brains are better and more ideas are better. So that's a really good benefit of being a member of Amoeba and shared resources. So we looked at how do we keep the public engaged, how to keep them on top of their local businesses, how to keep them moving, you know, out of sight, out of mind. We're all quarantined here in Austin, so how do you stay in front of people? We took some photos from an old campaign, or not too old, but before the pandemic. So there's before pandemic and after pandemic that we did, and I will share a screen here. The first series we did, I'll show you as part of the original document that they were done. So we took photos. We've had an ongoing campaign of local businesses welcoming you. And this is from the viewpoint of what a customer would see when they walk in the door. So we changed these to your locals need you, and did a whole series of these. There's 2 of them. But it's what local businesses look like when you walk in the door, and the idea of connecting you with a human being. As we know, all of our members are not giant corporations. This is the face of local business. And I will say, the first one of these that we ran, we got almost 500 likes on, which is pretty amazing for us to get that many likes, and just tons of shares. We've speculated whether there are more people at home, stuck at home, and looking at these, or are they responding to the message? But all of these are getting great play on social media. So connect businesses to their customers, connect new customers to businesses, etc. The second thing that we are employing is, let me pull it up here, love letters to local business. And what we did is we asked people to share what you love about a local business. And it can be a picture that you took before the pandemic, or you can take something off their website and just write a love letter to them. And this is just getting kicked off, but I think it's going to become really popular. And it's great that local businesses then can go on and not just feel the love, but experience new businesses. So a customer comes on here, they look at it and they go, wow, that's a great endorsement. All these people love this local business. I'm going to interact with them. And they become customers both now and after the pandemic. So it's just a way to say from people, we haven't forgotten you. We want to be your customers. We're going to continue being your customers. And then business can go, we tag them and share this. So that's one angle that we've done. Another way that we have worked to engage customers is on our website, but it's, let me move backwards here because this top part rotates and then I lose my space on it. So let me keep going backwards to the beginning. We did something called Local Business Serves You. And it's, we're looking to convert it to what Theo did. So that's pretty awesome. But we started with a list of who's open, and we marketed this through social media substantially, but using our little heart car, who's open, how, what they do, whether you can get curb service or pickup or online orders, delivery, shipping, gift cards, everything that you could get. And this was AIBA members and non-members. Like many IBAs, we decided we should open it up to everyone. The people who are members have a gold star by their names. So we wanted to point them out and give them an extra nod, but also has people who are not members in it. And it's a simple online form. This too is a spreadsheet in Google Sheets, and it's just linked to this page and with a plugin. Our website is a Divi website, so you can find plugins for almost anything. It's a WordPress document. But this way, businesses are listed. It's pretty easy. The upkeep is really easy. It's we just make sure that people are on it in the way that they want to be, and they can even update their listings. So that's one thing that we did. And let me get back to, now I'm not sure how I stopped sharing my screen on here. Stop share. There we go. Okay, we can do this. But it's looking for ways to engage. We've been on a lot of news media here, doing very early morning interviews, which are always fun. But saying, buy a gift card to yourself in the future. You know, go, you don't interact with business however you see fit and however you're comfortable, but here's lots of ways to interact. But keeping those faces in front of people because they're not seeing them in their daily lives now, keeping those messages in front of people is absolutely crucial. So they're all stuck at home reading their social media, so use it, use it, use it.
Remember to unmute. Whew. All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I appreciate that. It's always fun to see the campaigns from other cities. I just love being able to, share those ideas and to bring them home when they're especially applicable, and then also just get inspired by them. So I think they're very inspiring. So we're gonna wrap up. We've got one more topic here, and then we're gonna open it up to more of a discussion amongst the group. And that is kind of online special events. So we have a lot of IBAs or groups have hosted kind of town halls, panel discussions, that sort of thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about possibilities for kind of moving some things online. And I'm going to talk about that, although I cannot say that I have proof this is going to be super successful, but because we haven't had it yet. But we traditionally have our Buy Local Fair on May 17th. It's always that weekend, 2 weeks after Derby. In Louisville, everything revolves around the Derby in May. but we are not going to be able to do that then, obviously. We hope to have it later this summer, but even that's a little unsure because it's thousands of people usually that come. So we are looking to get some cash into our members' pockets right now. So what we decided to try was an online buy local fair, and I'm going to attempt to share my screen here. Here's our logo. You can see this portion of it was our original buy local fair logo, and we kind of added this cursor with the click here to indicate we're doing it online. Oh, wait a second now. How do I share? The other thing that I want to share, which is kind of our sponsorship levels. So started with this idea last week, threw together some sponsorship levels. I guess I priced them a little bit too low because we have actually sold out of sponsorships, which really was impressive to me because I wasn't sure if this idea was going to fly. So I'm hoping that, as evidenced by people who are willing to get behind it, that the public will also be getting behind it. So you can see kind of some of the levels that we offered for it. You know, we plan on, we're launching a Facebook event. We'll be doing Facebook Lives leading up to the event. We'll be doing them during the event. You know, so very heavy on the social media aspect of it. But also we will be sending press releases, and we hope to get a lot of shared media and that sort of thing around it as well. And then just a little bit about the logistics. Obviously, anybody can go and buy a gift card anytime or call the store or that sort of thing. But the reason why we wanted to have this online as a online fair was that people can support multiple vendors all at once, multiple businesses that they love with one transaction. And also, you know, they might come across some vendors that they forgot all about. So they're like, oh yeah, how could I forget about my favorite ice cream shop? I want to add on a gift card for them as well. So you can see some of the logistics we've listed out here, and I'm happy to send this document to anybody. We decided to do it in this gift card fashion because trying to, you know, coordinate objects and, you know, shipping and all that, it just would have been too much. But we feel like this can be a fairly straightforward way for folks to be able to support their members with just, you know, like I said, one transaction. So we're looking forward to that on May 17th, which is our traditional Buy Local Fair Day. And I'll be happy to share those results once we get them. And now I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I was going to see if Colin had anything he wanted to add because he runs a virtual art fair once a week, or has been for the past little bit.
Yeah, so my partner is an artist, and usually we set up a tent on the weekends and sell art out of our tent at art shows. Obviously, those aren't happening right now. They continue to get canceled. Things are now canceling for August and September, so it looks like pretty much the year is going to be a wash for art shows. We've tried setting up a weekly art show here in Madison virtually. I do have that set up on doing it the same way we're doing this broadcast today. So it's set up through Zoom and then put out through Facebook. We record it and then post the videos afterwards on YouTube. So we have created a YouTube channel for Artworks virtual art shows that you can look at. So I think we've done 4 or 5 of them so far. The artists have been a little resistant to sign up. They're nervous about being on camera and what am I going to say and how am I going to do this? And they have to set it up in their house. And there are a few logistics that go along with it, but it is gaining traction. So the first week we had about 20 people that watched it. Yesterday we did the last one. We had 48 people watching live, and then we had about 500 people afterwards watch it through the YouTube channel. So it's definitely picked up steam each week. So the biggest challenge on that has been getting participants to not be camera shy. I think the last 6 weeks there's been a lot of that going on, learning to use our cameras more efficiently and more effectively. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we'll continue to do it and try different angles on it, but it's another thing to try with members as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Colin. And so folks have bought through the online fair, or it's just kind of like building up awareness for later? Or
Yeah, so it happens a couple of different ways. So people can put in the comments just like they're doing today and say, I want to buy that piece. And then we just connect the artist and the buyer together. If they're here in the Madison area, most of the artists will just deliver it to their doorstep and take care of a credit card, or, on the phone or whatever. If it, it can be worked out various ways. But we also post the information. So if they want to contact them separately or go to the website, they can do that as well.
Great. Well, I'm gonna have, you know what, we're getting ready to open this up to Q&A. Theo, was there anything you wanted to add? I know that you guys have done a comedy night as well, fundraiser.
Yeah, I can briefly highlight it. So let me just share my screen. So basically, we partnered with a local comedian, his name's Jimmy Tingle, to do a fundraiser. As you are probably all also looking to find new ways to raise funds. He and I have a personal relationship. I had helped when he ran for lieutenant governor. I worked on his campaign, and he advertised the fundraiser to his 14,000 person distribution list, which helped expand our name recognition, and we were able to fundraise a little shy of $2,000. So it's a nice creative way of fundraising.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And now I am debating here about how I'm going to run the Q&A. I think we'll just stick with answers. I kind of like for everybody to see each other if they can. So while we're answering some questions, I'm going to go through and for the attendees on this list, I'm going to make you a panelist as well so that you can see, so that we can be part of one group. Might be a silly idea, but what the hey. But first of all, a couple of things. Mary Alice, we had a question from you in the Q&A about, from Della. Did you get resistance from other organizations, or were they eager to collaborate when you mentioned at the beginning of the call? And had you collaborated with them before?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think similar to kind of what you have said, there are some organizations who we have had varying degrees of engagement in the past. And very quickly, pretty much all of them were ready to get on a call and to make it a weekly conversation. The great thing was that I reached out to probably 4 or 5 organizations, and then a couple of those folks had ideas of other people who we could also reach out to and kind of make the conversation a broader one. And so, yeah, there were some relationships that were in place already. Not necessarily folks who we work with on a routine basis, but a base of a relationship. I also just want to say that I swear that Derek did not ask all of us to sing the praises of Amoeba to this degree. It's genuine.
It's true. It's true.
Well, thank you all. I really appreciate it. Makes me feel very good.
It's true. It has been nice to get compliments through Amoeba and through our members as well locally. Of just like, it is so important to be part of a group of people who are working on the same things that you are. So it's been really invaluable during this time, especially. I feel like we had another question about in-person events, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a poll for that so that we can all as a group share, if we are targeting to have in-person events sometime this summer or sometime this fall, or just not at all for 2021. So while I make that poll up, I want to see if we have some other questions. I think most of the things in the chat we kind of addressed as far as sharing the sponsorship form and things like that. And I will put all of this follow-up into a document as well for after the call. But all panelists or attendees, I am in the process of making you all panelists. So you can unmute. You can actually put video on as well if you want. I know maybe you weren't prepared for video, so you don't have to. But if you would like to ask a question, you can type it in, or you can feel free to chat as well.
So the one thing I'll just mention is, and I kind of touched on this before, is that it's all about relationships. And some people have questioned why they were a member of Being by Local for years, and some of them have left, and now they're like, oh, this is why. When things are difficult, like they are now for many, many businesses, this is why you're a member of the Buy Local group, and it all pays off. And that's why we're a member of Amoeba, and it all pays off. And it's just like the first round of PPP, when it opened, the businesses that got taken care of first were the ones that had a relationship with their bank. And that's where those relationships pay off, is when you need them to help keep your business open or whatever. So it's definitely all about relationships and staying in contact with the right people.
I'd like to add to that, Colin, and that support of our members is, for us, is the same as at Amoeba, because what we did is we came out of the gate so fast on information. We did webinars on how to deal with your landlord, some ideas, had a lawyer on that. We did how do you deal with some of these things and how do you cope with this? And then moving into when PPP became available, that kind of information out distilled and quick to our members made all the difference, because they're hearing all this different stuff on the news and from all these different sources, and a lot of it is conflicting and it's very confusing. And so to be the entity that says, okay, here's the nuts and bolts of this, here's what you need to know, here's some help for you in all these different areas, here's what you should do with your employees. So we were one of the first entities out of the gate saying, furlough your employees, don't lay them off. Here's some advice from an HR specialist. Here's some advice on how to work with your landlord. And to be able to tell your member that shows value for your organization. And we experienced the same thing. A lot of members coming back and saying, oh, thank you. You are the only ones like speaking English in this and giving us real information. And I feel the same way about Amoeba, to be part of something larger. So many of us do not have peers in our community. So we are alone in that way in our communities. Nobody has another independent business alliance. The chambers aren't always a really good comparison. They do things a little bit differently. And so for us to have the connectivity to talk to one another and to learn from each other and to have that kind of guidance coming from Amoeba is huge. And I'll second what Jennifer said. None of us are being paid to say this, and Derek didn't ask us to say it. It's just true. It's all from the heart.
Thank you, Rebecca. I appreciate it. And also, yeah, we've talked a lot over the last few weeks, which has been great to connect with everybody. So I hope that we can continue to talk with everyone on this call so that we can all help each other out. I am going to go ahead and launch that poll. I was just able to put that up. This is my first poll via Zoom, so y'all going to have to see how this works. You can have your vote here. Yes, you're planning on having one this summer. Yes, but not until fall. You're not planning on having any in 2020, or you're just not sure yet. If you would just put that in there, just curious to see what everybody's thoughts are right now. And I know there's still a lot of uncertainty out there. One thing that I wanted to add too about our topic about directories is, we had our own member directory and we still have it up. What we ended up doing was actually just adding more categories onto our directory. Things like, are you open different hours during the precautions? Or do you do delivery or curbside? Do you offer gift cards through your website, or do people call? Those sort of things. So we actually just republished our directory with that information in it. I think we took off a couple of categories that we usually have, like maybe Twitter handle or something like that, so that we have the room to put it in the directory. But we felt like this was more important during this time. So, well, it looks like most folks, I think you can all see the poll results there. Most folks are just not sure yet. It doesn't look like anybody's planning on having anything this summer. Some in the fall, and some already know that there won't be any in 2020. So that hopefully will help answer someone's questions earlier about, whether we'll have, in-person events. I do imagine it does vary a lot by state as well, but it's just a really hard time to plan right now. That's the real bummer of it.
Oh,
And even
Jennifer-
bigger, it's an even harder challenge, I feel like, than some of the other challenges, because, you know, if you knew how long you had to do without money, then you could make some kind of plan for it. Or, you know, it's just like the how long is such a big question for everybody. So anyway, so we are at just a couple minutes past 2, so I want to wrap up the call. If there are any, I'm going to look through here to make sure there aren't any other questions, but I would love to hear from people, whether you want to pipe up or whether you want to put it in the chat to talk about, you know, if we have another call in a week or 2, you know, what topics would you like to see? Do you want to see one of these topics expanded on? Do we want to talk a little bit about, you know, states are starting to look towards opening up, you know, hopefully, you know, cases plateauing and perhaps, you know, depending on where you are, certain levels of phase 1, phase 2, et cetera, might be happening. Now, that's going to vary a lot by location, but it also might be an opportunity for some of us who are in states that are going to open up later to hear from, you know, states where opening is already in progress. So, if anybody has thoughts on that, I would love to hear it in the comments, or you can email me directly later, that sort of thing. So, yeah, it looks like New Orleans, nothing in 2020. So,
The one thing
Sorry.
I might mention is I would like to know from some of the different IBAs how they're doing financially, not number-wise, but in general. Are they hanging in there? Are they going to be okay? Do they need help? Are they thinking about cutting way back? You know, just standpoint, I think that would be helpful to know what's out there and how we might be able to help at a national level. And it's really nothing that the dog has to bark about, but, you know, whatever. So.
Sorry. Yeah, that's a tough one. And if folks want to put that in the Q&A anonymously too, you can. I have to say, for us, I'm reworking our whole budget right now. We're hanging in there. We have had to lay off and that sort of thing, but I expect that we will survive. And it does seem like I think we'll be in a much better position after, because our members have been so grateful for having the association that I'm hopeful that it will be just a kind of a launching pad for us after things are recovered.
That's the one thing I mentioned to my board is that I fully expect in 6 months our membership is going to take off, and actually it's already started to do that to a small degree. But I would expect once we get past all this crap that we'll see better numbers with the next year or so, a big increase in membership.
Awesome.
And Jen, I think we have one question. Joe asks for a piece of advice that we would give to someone hoping to form an IBA while COVID is still ongoing. And its context, I think Joe is in Great Barrington in Western Mass, and they're looking to start an IBA. Does anybody on the panel have advice for Joe?
I think in some ways it is a great time to start an IBA, as long as you don't need to collect dues right off the bat, because people are looking to each other. And, you know, just starting a Facebook group of interconnected businesses, that's, you know, a private group where they can share. You know, our members have been very helpful to each other as well, you know, filing for unemployment, or, you know, has anybody heard about this, and who started getting their disaster loan, you know. So in a way, it might be a great time to start building that nugget of a community. And then, you know, as the recovery builds, then it can become a more formal, you know, have a board, you know, set up dues, you know, that sort of thing. And I think in a way, you will have proved your value already before you even open the doors. If you wanted to start experimental like that, that's just off the top of my head, but.
I would totally agree with that. I think it's a great time to prove your value, not only in information to businesses, but in the community of businesses to each other. Everybody's experiencing this for the first time. I mean, I don't know that anybody, unless you maybe lived in a foreign country at some point, has experienced anything like this. So it's definitely a learn as you go and learn from each other. And it's a great place to form community quickly around this issue but then carry it forward into, once we come out of this, then resources for how you come out of this. And I agree that charging membership dues might have to wait a while. I know we are experiencing new members, which is great because of the work we're doing, but a lot of our regular members are saying,
I think they're speechless.
I think so too.
There you go.
They're
Darn it.
overwhelmed.
Well, if Rebecca comes back, we'll have her finish her thought. But yes, yes, and I see Dana kind of seconded that as well there. So yeah, posting weekly calls, great. Well, I know that we are past our time here, so I do want to go ahead and wrap up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this chat. Well, I'm going to download the chat just to make sure that I've addressed everything. And I encourage everybody on this call, I'll be sending out contact information for all of the panelists to please be in touch. We would be happy to connect you and also to hear your ideas too, because we are certainly not the brain trust of everybody. I mean, we definitely want to hear what's going on in your locality as well. So that's the great thing about, more brains are better than one, and 20 brains is better than 2, and et cetera, et cetera. So, so we really do appreciate you being on the call, and I'll be back in touch with the recording. And I want to thank our panelists too for taking the time to prepare some remarks here. And at our upcoming calls, maybe we'll hear from some of you guys, some other folks on the call too. And holler if you have any questions. Thank you so much.